This video is on character, setting, and text connections. Character: the who and the story. Like literary fiction, nonfiction contains characters who act within the story. Though these characters are real people in nonfiction, they are still represented in writing with the same tools and techniques as fictional characters. Nonfiction stories rely on the same reader empathy as fiction stories, so they must also contain sympathetic or interesting characters for the reader to follow. Because the reader may not know the real-life person in the story, an author must introduce and characterize the person just as a fiction writer would, including physical details and descriptions of their behavior. Nelson Mandela is an example of a nonfiction character. Yao Ming, Sofia Vergara, Harper Lee. All of these are real people and can appear in nonfiction or literary nonfiction. Direct characterization. Direct characterization is the method in which the author directly states what a character is like. An example: Mr. Thomas is a very grumpy person when he first gets up in the morning until he gets a cup of coffee. So again, characterizing Mr. Thompson as a grumpy person, you're told that directly by the author. Indirect characterization. Think steel. Speech. What does the character say? How does the character speak? Thoughts. What is revealed through the character's private thoughts and feelings? Effect on others. What others feel about the character. What is revealed through the character's effect on other people? How do other characters feel or behave in reaction to the character? Actions. What does the character do? How does the character behave? Looks. What does the character look like? How does the character dress? Creating characters. What the author tells us directly. Dialogue. What he or she says. Actions. What he or she does. Inner thoughts and feelings. What others say about or how they react to the character. What the author tells us directly. The cat is grumpy. There are some things about a character that the author wants you to know, rather than infer. All of the information given in a text is given on purpose. Dialogue. What he or she says. Gumball admits his flaws in this example, but does this moment of honesty mean that we can trust him? He says, I've got principles. It just turns out I can't live by them. What a character says may be different from what he or she does. It can also show how a character affects other characters in the text. Actions. What he or she does. Shrek loves being an ogre, but loves Fiona even more. What a character does can show whether his or her thoughts are put into an action that relates to or contrasts his or her feelings and intentions. Inner thoughts and feelings. Snow White is seen as naive and trusting when she takes the apple from the old lady or the witch. The old lady or the witch, we know, is being deceitful. She's envious. A character's inner thoughts and feelings can say a lot about his or her character, but can also be in contrast with what he or she says and does. It looks like in our example here that the old woman is just being nice and giving Snow White an apple, but we know the truth. What others say about or how they react to the character. Meg's father doesn't show her any affection or respect. We can see that that is the effect that she has on her father and other characters in the story, if you're familiar with this story. How other characters react to a character can influence the reader's opinion, but also help to create a clearer picture of a character. Whether a character is loved, hated, feared, or misunderstood says a lot about that character's relationship with others. Setting. The time, place, physical details, and circumstances in which a setting occurs. Settings include the background, atmosphere, or environment in which characters live and move, and usually include physical characteristics of the surroundings. This definition is from the All-American Glossary of Literary Terms. Think, how is the setting important to a story? Everything about a setting is important, so pay attention to all of it. The time, is it day or night, an actual time on the clock? Is there a specific year, a specific time period, a significant event? What's the place? Is it a city, a state, a house, a hospital, a car? The description of the place matters. A red room with antique furniture, a broken down car in a desert. The environment and weather. Is it scorching hot in a desert? Is there a blizzard in a cabin in the woods? Is it on a boat in a storm? Is it a sunny, hot day with fluffy white clouds? Is it damp and rainy in a swamp? The economics and social class are important to the setting. It could be a poor village with modest people, a mansion on a hill with wealthy people, a hotel with shady people around, or a quiet home with little children. Setting and tone and mood. Tone is the author's attitude. The mood is the way that you feel. Sometimes the setting provides details about the mood and tone of the story. For example, a story set in a haunted house will probably be filled with suspense and horror. Whereas a story set at a castle after a wedding would probably be filled with anticipation and romance. The setting may also reflect a time period. Is it Philadelphia in the 1920s? Or is it Philadelphia in 2016? How can the differences in the time period impact the setting and our understanding of the setting? Setting and conflict. Other times the setting may actually be a part of the conflict in the story. This is common in adventure stories in which characters become trapped or lost in forests, avalanches, and so forth. The setting may also provide the way in which the conflict is resolved. In such instances, a character uses a feature of the setting to his or her advantage. If you've ever seen The Hunger Games catching fire, the arena in the 75th Games is an example of this. Why is setting important? The setting of a story helps the reader make sense of the plot. Where do events occur? Allows the reader to better understand the characters and their motivations. What circumstances and/or resources surround the character? Can point to the tone and mood. What is the author's attitude towards the content and/or readers? How does the reader feel about what's happening? Can help reveal the theme of the story. What is the author's message? Text connections. Interpreting and analyzing works from a variety of genres for literary, historical, and/or cultural significance. Interpreting and analyzing works through a variety of critical lenses: text to self, text to world, text to text. Text to self, a connection between a book and your life or experience. For example, if you're reading Moby Dick by Herman Melville, what you already know or a personal experience, such as maybe a time that you went whale watching, can help you to better understand the text that you're currently reading. Text to world, a connection between a book and events in the real world. If you're reading The Book Thief, real events or situations that have happened or are happening in the world. If you're familiar with a recent story from February 26, 2016, when a package thief walks off with a box of soiled kitty litter. You might be familiar with something going on in the current event, something you saw on the news, or something else that's happening in the world or has happened, and that might help you to better understand the text that you're reading. Text to text, a connection between a book and another book or text that you have read. If you're reading the Zombie Survival Guide, A Complete Protection from the Living Dead, another text, a TV show, a movie, a song, art, video games, etc., can really help you to connect what you're reading with something that you may have read before or have seen before, if you think of text as outside of the cover of a book. Let's review. What is character? The people, animals, or things that make up the story. Antagonist, the protagonist, dynamic, static, round, or flat characters. Characters are created through direct and indirect characterization, when an author tells readers directly about a character. Speech, thoughts, feelings, effects on others, actions, or looks. Think Steele. Indirect characterization. What is setting? The time, place, environment, weather, social or economic status. Setting can point to the tone, mood, and theme of a text. What are text connections? Interpret and analyze works from a variety of genres for literary, historical, and or cultural significance. Text to self, text to world, text to text. It's quiz time. Bring any questions you may have back to class. I'll see you there.